Hey, we're excited to let you know that registration for How Today's Successful Leaders Avoid Burnout and Create Work-Life Balance Without Changing Jobs free webinar is open. If you are like most leaders we talk with, you are sinking in a sea of constant change, limited resources, and competing priorities. You feel exhausted mentally, physically, and emotionally. No matter what you do, it's not enough, and there is never enough time to do all the things on your to-do list. We realize taking time out to participate in a webinar may be the last thing you feel you can add to your overflowing plate. Yet you probably also realize that not taking time to add a new tool to your toolbox, learn a new skill, and gain new insights will only guarantee you'll keep experiencing what you're experiencing right now. You also may be thinking, hey, work-life balance isn't possible. Well, we don't blame you for thinking that. It's what most people think and what we've been told for years, and quite frankly, what we've tried to do and failed multiple times. But we're here to show you it is possible and to give you the secret ingredient and proven process to make it happen. Go over to missinglogic.com/new-events to enroll in the webinar today and join other leaders like you who are determined to overcome or avoid burnout and live a more balanced life.
This is Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, episode number 219. And to this week's Encore episode is Calling All Leaders Work-Life Balance is Possible. And we are calling all leaders.
Yeah, originally this was just for healthcare leaders, but not today. Today it's about all leaders. And, here's the thing. Work-life balance is one of the greatest tensions and biggest problems that all leaders face, and it's never going away.
No, it's never going away. And people and leaders were challenged with it before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and guess what? Post-pandemic. So to Tracy's point, it's never going away. And what we realize is people just can't figure this out. And that is because they don't have the missing logic.
Yeah, which we do.
We do.
Just so you know, we do have the missing logic. Now, we're talking about this because many of you have this belief that work-life balance isn't possible. And you get that belief after trying for many, many years to achieve it. And it's unattainable for you or has been unattainable for you. So, most of the time, the result is because you treat it like it's a problem that you can solve. And you use either or thinking. You choose either I have a career or I have a life, right? Either I have kids or I go to Europe and backpack for a while. We've been making these either or choices for a long time. And that's our frame of reference when we run into a challenge. We treat it like a problem. And that leads to false choices. We can't choose between our professional life and our personal life. We need to leverage that tension between the two. And because we have to have the strengths of both to have the high quality lives that we want to really thrive right in our lives. So this is a very pertinent topic at all times. And that's why we're revisiting it.
That is why we're revisiting it. And really the ultimate polarity we're talking about here is managing the tension between your professional life and your personal life. And this was sort of a light bulb moment for Tracy and I. We knew about this, but like all polarities, it's not enough to know. You have to know how to manage and leverage it. So we created the dynamic balance blueprint that we've been working with leaders on. And it's been great. We use it ourselves now. We teach other people how to use it. They see great ahas, I never even saw it from this perspective. And so that's how you leverage the polarity.
Well, you want to make that tension visible.
Yes.
Right? And when you have it kind of mapped out and concrete and in front of you, this is what I'm going to get when I give attention to this part of my life. And these are the things I need to do to get those outcomes. And here's what's going to let me know when I'm off track, right? It helps you to do what you haven't known how to do, which is to understand the nature of that tension that sits between these two aspects of your life and to really leverage it. And so it's a phenomenal tool and process to use to help you create and then sustain. And we talk a lot about that in this podcast.
We do. And our vision is that every leader will be exposed to this type of dynamic balance, and having a tool like the Dynamic Balance Blueprint, just like you can't live without your phone or you can't live without GPS to get you around these days. Like, it is a very valuable tool. And we are just really declaring our commitment for all leaders to have work-life balance because it is possible. So that's why we're here with this topic again today. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. This is the only podcast that shows you how to leverage polarity intelligence, an essential competency for healthcare leaders, and the missing logic in healthcare, so you can create healthy, healing organizations and become a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable healthcare leader.
We are your hosts, Tracy Christofferson and Michelle Trosett. We've been best friends and colleagues for over 30 years. And during that time, we coached healthcare leaders across North America around how to create healthy, healing organizations.
Today, we coach healthcare leaders and leadership teams to live thriving, resilient, and balanced lives, combat burnout, and create the best places to give and receive care.
This podcast is for the unsung hero of healthcare, the healthcare leader. We want you to know we see you and we'll be here for you each week. In this podcast, we're going to challenge healthcare's industry norms, flip limiting beliefs, and share proven strategies so you can be your best self at work and at home, live and lead intentionally, and experience well-being and joy.
We are glad you are here and look forward to sharing the journey with you. If you aren't totally convinced this podcast is for you, just listen to a few episodes and convince yourself.
Welcome back to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast.
Yes, and welcome into our studio.
Yeah.
This is Michelle.
And I'm Tracy, and we're just happy you're here. We're very grateful you're listening to us today. This is a topic very near and dear to our heart. We're very passionate about this. We've just been working on this for a long time.
It's never ending.
It's never ending, and I bet you didn't know that work-life balance is possible. Probably like most other people we know, you've probably heard that it isn't possible, right? That it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as work-life balance, but we're here to tell you there is, and it is possible. And, we've just probably been noticing this more lately because we're so passionate about it.
I think so. And I think it's a hot topic right now too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I've definitely been noticing it. It's not possible. There's no such thing.
We got another story for you.
We do.
So we're going to flip that belief and help you to see that during these, again, challenging times, right? Coming up on 2 years, right, of a global pandemic. And, that's throwing a wrench in everybody's lives, right?
It is.
Personal life, their professional life. It's been challenging. I mean, it's been more than challenging.
And we know it's not like you haven't tried before.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Right.
We know that, as busy leaders, you've tried to balance your personal life and your professional life. And it's maybe you've had some successes, but it's just you're always going back and trying it again and again. And it just seems sometimes like it's not possible.
If you can't get traction.
Yeah, we get that. And it just feels like this problem that's going to be there forever. And that's why for some people, it feels like it's impossible. Yeah. And as leaders, we're taught to look at challenges and issues as problems to solve. And problem solving is the logic we apply to all challenges we face.
Oh, yeah, because we're leaders.
That's what we're taught.
That's what we're good at.
Yeah.
Right.
But we want to ask you something. Is every problem solvable? Is it? Is it? Ask yourself. Or are there problems that you've faced over and over again, like balancing your professional life and your personal life, these problems that don't go away? Are you probably starting to realize that some problems can't be solved?
No, they can't. And if you've been listening to us, you probably already know that because we've been saying it over and over too, right?
Yes.
Because not everything is a problem, but we're taught to fix problems, right? Problems exist. We're taught to, we save lives by solving problems in healthcare, right? So it's kind of ingrained in who we are and what we do. And the problem, when we think about problems have an endpoint. You have some alternative solutions that you're choosing between, and you only choose one or the other, right? You don't choose both. They're not interdependent. They don't need each other. Once you make a decision, let's say gee, where are we going to go for dinner tonight, Michelle? Like, what restaurant are we going to go to? Once we decide on A, B, or C, the decision's done. We go to the restaurant. We have a great meal, hopefully.
And we do still have to decide that.
Yeah, and we do. That's why I asked. But, we choose A, B, or C restaurant, right?
Right.
And problem solved, because we're not going to all three of them, right?
Right.
We're not going to all three of them, right, Michelle?
No.
We're going to choose one. We're only going to go. We're not going to travel and eat at every one of them. Right. So the problem solved once we make that decision, right? So that's really kind of the crux of problems. But, I think the other thing is we do have these challenges that we face that come up over and over and over again and over again. And, if we choose one of those, if we try to make an either or choice, we're going to get in trouble.
Right.
And one of the challenges that we face, an ongoing challenge that you face as a leader, is staffing. And we know that that has been a significant challenge for leaders in healthcare over the last, 6 months or so, right?
Right.
It's really gotten worse. I mean, we know it's always been a challenge, but it's really been heightened by some of the, negative consequences of the pandemic and the different surges. And so it's really become a heightened thing. But it's really, in order to address staffing, you need both recruitment and retention.
Exactly.
Right?
You do. You need both.
You need both. So in some of these ongoing challenges, there's two interdependent alternatives, and you can't make a choice between one or the other. You really have to have both.
Yeah, you have to have both, right?
You have to have both.
And it is really important for everyone to recognize that staffing is not a problem to solve. That's why it's been around forever. I mean, for as long as I can remember. Again, we've been in healthcare for a long time, and it's never going to go away, so
there's no end point.
And to Tracy's point, we know that with COVID, it's really kind of highlighted it. It's amplified the staffing needs. It's really, really challenging right now. In fact, recently published 2021 Washington Post Kaiser Foundation survey found that nearly 30% of healthcare workers are considering leaving their profession altogether, and nearly 60% reported impacts to their mental health stemming from their work during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, on top of shortages that have already existed, we're going to start to see more because of what's happening with just internally for healthcare workers and what they've had to deal with. So it was there before the pandemic, but now it is, it's definitely getting worse again. And we can't achieve a higher purpose of having a strong healthcare workforce and optimal staffing without engaging both the recruitment and the retention strategies that Tracy mentioned. And we know that these ongoing challenges are polarities, right? They're polarities that must be managed, and polarities are not solvable. So we have to take a different approach.
Yeah, well, and we know that because, when you apply a problem-solving logic to a polarity, you're guaranteed you're going to fail over time because they're not solvable. You can't make an either-or choice. This is about a both-and choice. Both are necessary. And I think, just using staffing is just such a great example because it's so prevalent right now. Right. And, when you choose retention or recruitment, you're making a false choice because you're only choosing one, right? And what ultimately ends up happening is this pendulum swing, right? You just keep going. First, you choose recruitment and you put your effort there and you neglect the retention, right? And then pretty soon, that's not working and you're swinging back over to the other side, right? So you end up making this false choice, and in this back and forth and back and forth, and over time, all you end up getting is negative consequences.
And I think what's happening right now, at least from what I'm hearing when I've had, I've been in the healthcare settings with family members, recently took my mother to the emergency department. And what I'm hearing is there's been such a focus on recruitment because of the shortages, bringing in, agency personnel, bringing in travelers, giving out significant bonuses. It's the people that are staying there. They're not feeling the retention love right now. And so it's really important. What polarities teach you is it's important you don't lose sight of that, of what you're doing to retain your current staff as well.
And I think it just has to be, it's about a both and it's about giving attention to both, to Michelle's point, right? So you have to bring more in, of course, but you also have to be doing things that are keeping the ones you've got from leaving, right? And there's a multitude of reasons people are leaving right now. Like we've heard that list too, right? Lots of different reasons people are leaving. And so the whole point here is just that you're going to fail if you only emphasize one pole to the neglect of the other. And that's what we're just trying to bring out, right? Applying a problem-solving logic is only going to set you up to fail. So you have to really understand this and understand that this is not a problem, that it is a polarity, and that it has to be addressed that way. And, when you think about it, and we're talking about work-life balance, you're probably going, why are you talking about staffing? Because it's a great example of something you can relate to right now. Now, let's step back and think about this in terms of work-life balance. Your personal life or your home life, right, is interdependent with your professional life or your work. And, the both are interdependent. There's a relationship there. There's a necessary energy that binds those two and yet separates them, right? They're interconnected. And so you have to give attention to both. And you will not have balance if you don't. And that's why you probably haven't had balance between work and life, your work and your home life, if you haven't recognized this isn't a problem to solve when you feel those tensions. So they are interdependent, and you need to give attention to both if you want to thrive, if you want to have quality life.
Yeah. And once you really get that, once you understand that, then work-life balance is possible.
Yeah. That's the game changer, folks.
Yep. It really is. And it's just putting on a different lens on how you look at it. Yep. And it's really your first step of learning how to manage it on an ongoing basis. And when we talk about work-life balance, we talk about it like professionally, it's pretty all-encompassing of everything professional. It's your work, your career. Maybe you're a student and you're in school. Could be professional organizations that you're a part of. So it's everything professional related. And then personal, obviously, is your home life. But it's also your family and friends and entertainment, hobbies.
Yeah, anything you're doing on the personal.
Anything that you're doing on the personal side. Yeah. So there's that when we say professional life and personal life, that's what we're talking about. Yeah. And we've really had the honor in the last, 18 months at least to introduce this concept to healthcare leaders of how to balance their professional life and their personal life. And it's really resulted in clarity, action of how to do that, and more joyful lives that we see these days. And more recently, we've taught this strategy to leaders more as a survival mechanism. Again, as the pandemic resurges keep happening and things escalate, it's now more of a survival mechanism.
Yeah, because we know nobody, we don't just set out to survive. That's a pretty low bar, right? That's a pretty low bar. But in the face of everything that people are experiencing, it is really about survival because they are on the edge, right?
Right.
They are on the edge. And
very much so.
And this is a unique situation that we have never experienced before. This long-term stress, right? It's the longevity of this situation that I think has really put people in this mode of survival, right? And survival and applying what we know to survival is just the first step. Mm-hmm. We're just getting people through the hump, right? Getting them to a place where then they can even think about thriving. They can take on the bigger aspects of transforming their life. But right now it's about, what do I got to do to get through, right? So how can I get some balance right now so I can feel better, have more, joy and happiness in my life, less stress, and feel like I have some control, right, over what's going on.
Well, we're meeting them where they're at right now.
Exactly.
We're just meeting them where they're at.
Meeting you where you're at, right? So, a big part of this is this dynamic balance, right, which comes from our dynamic balance effect framework. If you've been listening to us for any amount of time, you're very familiar with that. And polarity intelligence, of course, is at the heart of it, right? And it's pillar number 2. And so you're not going to get balance until you learn how to apply polarity intelligence, until you learn how to manage these interdependent pairs. So that's the first place we start with people, is we teach them really to step back and think about, why do I even want balance between work and home?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that important to me? What is it going to give me that I want? And what is at risk if I don't do this?
Mm-hmm.
What pain am I going to feel if I don't give attention to this right now? So that's the first place we really kind of start them with. The second step is really thinking about, so what do I want in my professional life? What do I want in my personal life? What really matters to me? What is it that I want? What contribution do I want to make in both of those areas? And kind of what do I want to experience and feel as a leader and feel as an individual, right? In my home or in my community. And just getting clear on that, because that really gives you then the guidance of what you're after, right? If you don't know where you're going, you don't know how you're going to get there.
Right.
So first you got to figure out where the heck am I going and why am I going there? Right?
Yeah. And then the next step is really to come up with some action steps, right? To help you get those positive outcomes that you've defined for yourself. So every blueprint is very individualized to you. So that's really important that we put it in context. And they just don't happen. You don't get those just by saying, okay, this is what they are, and then sitting back. You really need to define what action steps are going to work for you so you can achieve those positive outcomes, both on the professional side of your life and on the personal side of your life.
And right sizing those, like everybody's context is a little bit different, right? So kind of right sizing them for right now. That's the other part of the survival piece is things you might do outside of this time may not be the things you're going to do in this time, right? But you have a plan.
Yeah. And we talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We very much talk about that.
That's a big part of survival.
Yeah. And then lastly, just really thinking about what are those early warning signs that keep you from experiencing those negative consequences, and so that you can course correct. And that's something that you need to reflect on, but it's also something that the people around you, both at work and at home, can help you with in identifying those as well.
And this is not a surprise, folks.
No.
You know exactly what your warning signs are. I mean, most of the people that come into our boot camp that engage with us go, I know I've been kind of shoving that aside. I haven't been paying attention to it. They know the signs. They're just not taking action.
Right.
Because they don't know how and they can't sustain it. And that's the beauty of what we're giving them, right? So your call to action is to start with, what lens am I looking at work-life balance through? Do I believe it's possible? Am I looking at it like it's a problem I've got to solve? And have I been approaching it that way? Because that right there is going to tell you why you've got the results that you've got, right? And if I don't take action, am I going to survive this? Am I going to really make it through strong enough to carry on and to thrive ultimately, right? You might get through, but you might be pretty broken by the time you get there. So you want to be thinking about that. You don't want to end up burned out. You don't want to hit the bottom.
No, don't wait.
Don't wait.
Really, don't wait. Yeah. So we know that if you continue to look at this through that problem solving logic to create this balance, it's going to be elusive. You're just going to stay stuck in this vicious cycle. And just going back and forth, and you're going to stay in that unresolved state for a long, long time. And, it's a broken strategy that's 100% guaranteed to fail.
Well, and it's exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting doing the same thing over and over, not getting results, and it just eats away at your resolve. You're thinking nothing's going to work. Well, we're telling you, we got something that will help.
This is just the way it is. Yeah, just the way it is.
Exactly.
So we don't want you to stay stuck there.
No. So if you want a new strategy to get you some lasting results, right? That's going to sustain you through this time. It's going to help you move through this challenging time and help you get some positive outcomes that you can sustain till you get on the other side of this. And we have no idea when the other side's coming, but it will get here. And you want to be prepared to take full advantage of it when you're ready to, right? And that may even be before we're through it. But you want to get there. This is what you got to do, right? And what you really want, and what most of the people that come into our boot camp want, they want healthy relationships. They want to enjoy their family, their friends. They want to contribute to their community. They want to be healthy. They want to live a healthy lifestyle. They want to laugh and have fun. They want to enjoy life, and they want to make a significant contribution. They want to support their teams, right? They want to, feel like they're valued and that their contributions are valued. There's very positive outcomes you get from paying attention to both of these things, and you can have it.
You can. And here's the other thing. The leaders that are thriving, resilient, unstoppable, they really realize they have to invest in themselves.
And they do it.
They do it. And they know they're not going to get this in their organizations necessarily. They're not going to get it from your typical education, continuing education. This is very unique. And they invest in themselves to learn this strategy so they can experience work-life balance. And for a lot of these leaders, they are invested their careers. All this time they've been, growing in their careers. And I think there's a realization of, I don't want to go out this way. I've invested 10, 20, 30 years in this career, and I don't want to go out exhausted, conflicted, just deflated, deflated. So they're action takers. They see the opportunity and they are taking action. So if you want to take the first step of being a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable leader, we'll teach you. We'll teach you the dynamic strategy in our Leadership Survival Boot Camp. Yep. And to Tracy's point, ultimately, thriving is the goal, but right now, survival's the game.
That's right. And, I think the other thing is there's just taking responsibility, because nobody's going to do this for you. And there's never going to be a right time.
Right. Never is going to be a right time.
There's never a right, perfect time to do it, right? The perfect time is right now. You're not going to get results till you do your push-ups. Yeah. I mean, really, that's the truth, folks, right? And nobody can do those push-ups but you. And nobody can get the results for you but you. So, there's a way, and we are happy to welcome you into the program and, answer any questions that you have about it. You can certainly, email us or, connect with us in our, questions at missinglogic.com. And we'd be happy to answer any questions, but we would welcome you in the program. And that's about all we can say about that.
I think we've said it all. But we wanted to leave with work-life balance is possible.
It is possible, and you can have it. So we hope you do. We hope you, you're striving to get that, even if it's not working with us.
Yes.
Just go get it, because it's there for you and you can have it. So stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you again for being here with us and for listening and tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, now a top-rated podcast for healthcare leaders. Please share this podcast with other healthcare leaders and anyone else you think would benefit. We are certain that if you found value in it, they will too. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And also, it would mean the world to us if you took a quick moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player. It helps to get the word out about our podcast and incredible guests. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to watch our podcasts. You can also follow us on our Missing Logic social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time.